was very much intertwined with my sexuality, and that's all I received attention for. And so in a way I found my value in that. With the encouragement really of everyone in my life at the time, I entered the sex industry and got a job at a strip club. And looking around and realizing, God, if you created me with a purpose, this can't be it. There has to be more than this. After years of being on that journey with him and letting that healing work take place, I started to think about the other women who maybe still felt trapped in circumstances like I had.
Welcome to Pure Passion. I'm Stacia Freeman, and I'm your host for today's program. Last year, Pure Passion aired what turned out to be an award-winning episode featuring the testimony of former stripper Harmony Dust, who now reaches out to working dancers in LA, Las Vegas, and other cities with the news that Jesus loves and values them as his very own daughters. Harmony's story was so inspiring that we decided to follow her team around Las Vegas during their annual outreach to the strip clubs there. On today's program, you're going to hear a brief retelling of her story by Harmony, followed by reports from various team members about the contacts that they are making with the girls inside the dressing rooms of the strip clubs. We'll even hear the story of one nightclub manager who was so impacted by what God is doing through the Treasures Ministry. As you can imagine, there was a great deal of spiritual warfare over the outreach. As a result, Harmony lost her voice. So listen carefully as she ekes out a powerful testimony of what God is doing to rescue his girls. It's a wonderful story of the grace of God, reaching out to the lost wherever they may be found. So let's go to Las Vegas.
My passion for women in the sex industry was birthed out of my own broken past. And just as a young girl, I found myself sexually abused by multiple people throughout my life, both men and women, and raped as a teenager, and just felt so ashamed of myself, had no sense of self-worth, and my identity was very much intertwined with my sexuality, and that's all I received attention for. And so in a way I found my value in that. And as a teenager, I became involved with a young boy in the neighborhood who eventually ended up, initially he was like a father figure to me. He looked out for me. I lived in a neighborhood where there was a lot of gang rivalry and violence. He made me feel protected. But that relationship changed into one that was basically, he was my abuser and like a pimp. At the age of 19, I was caught in this vicious cycle of trying to buy his love to keep him from leaving me, and was over $35,000 in debt and on the brink of bankruptcy. And it was at that point that, with the encouragement really of everyone in my life at the time, I entered the sex industry and got a job at a strip club. And at first I thought I would only do it for a little while, like a lot of women do. And I just became sucked into the lifestyle. And it's like, you know, once I did that, it's hard to go back, because it's a quick way to make money. And you feel like, well, I've already done it. You know, I've already crossed that line. I'm already the kind of woman that would sell my body to a stranger. And it's, for me, it was very difficult to retract that decision that I made. And the relationship with my boyfriend became increasingly abusive. He constantly cheated on me, and I would come home every night and give him all of my money. And really, I was just at such a point in my life that I didn't even think that leaving would be worth it, because I thought that all men were like that, and that my only other option would to be alone. And to be alone felt to me more unbearable than to be in an abusive relationship. And so I stayed, and it was at that point being caught in an abusive relationship, stuck in a strip club, and really just at such a desperate point, feeling hopeless, feeling suicidal, feeling like there was no way out, but always in the back of my mind hoping that there was a better life for me. It was at that point that I encountered God, and it was through a friendship with a young woman who just extended her hand in love to me and loved me unconditionally, didn't judge me, didn't tell me how to live my life. She just, through her actions and through her love for me, she showed me God's unconditional love for me. And it was that relationship and that encounter with God that changed my life. And I started to learn the truth about myself, that I am loved, that I am valued, that I am purposed, that I was created for something good. And the more I learned what was true about me and how God truly saw me, it became impossible to live in a way that contradicted that. And it was out of an internal transformation that true change happened in my life. It wasn't because anyone pointed fingers and told me what to do, or, said, now that you're at church, you have to look a certain way or talk a certain way or act a certain way. It was out of a true place of God doing a work in my heart that led to change in my life. I remember being one night in the strip club and looking around and realizing, God, if you created me with a purpose, this can't be it. There has to be more than this. And very soon after that, I gained the strength to walk out of the club because God told me that I could do it and that he would take care of me and he wouldn't let me down. And really just embarked on a journey of growing closer to him and letting him heal those places in my heart and life that were so broken because of the pain and abuse that I experienced in my past. And after years of being on that journey with him and letting that healing work take place, I started to think about the other women who maybe still felt trapped in circumstances like I had. And I just felt like I had to do something to reach them. And over 7 years ago, I founded an organization called Treasures, and we reach women in the sex industry through outreach at strip clubs and porn conventions, and even sometimes, just finding women on the tracks that are working in prostitution and just reaching them with that same simple message that they are loved, valued, and purposed. And we provide peer mentoring, and we have a team of volunteers and people who are trained to come alongside them and help them get the tools and the resources and the encouragement that they need to live the lives that they were called to live. And it's incredible. We see true change happening in women's lives, and it's awesome.
Pure passion that beats for Christ alone. Pure passion.
In addition to the monthly outreaches that we do in Los Angeles and Orange County, we have an annual outreach over Memorial Weekend in Las Vegas. I walked into a dressing room and I approached a couple of girls and they said, are you with some kind of church group? And you could see they were just so defensive. And normally when I see that kind of defensiveness, I want to answer the true question that's behind what they're really asking is, are you here to judge me? Are you here to tell me I'm going to burn in hell? And I said, actually, we are faith-based, but we're not here to judge you. We're just here to tell you that you're loved. And both of them instantly softened and said, well, that's great. Thank you so much, because we thought you were going to just come here to tell us that we're going to burn in hell, like our families told us our whole lives. And come to find out that both of these women, throughout their entire childhood as little girls, were told by their mother and their grandmother that you're just a Jezebel. You're just a Jezebel. Look at you. You're a Jezebel. And I couldn't help be just struck by the power of words and that being spoken over them. And one of the girls kept saying, I hear God. He talks to me. I hear his voice. And he tells me, get out of here. Leave. And I tell him, shh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. And I just said, well, that's great that you can still hear his voice. And he sees your heart, and he knows you, and he loves you right where you're at. And that's why we do this. I didn't mean to. But there are so many women who have been told their whole lives that there's something that they're truly not, that they're a Jezebel, that they're a slut, that they'll never be good enough. And it's those women that we want to reach with the truth that God loves them.
Initially, when I first started volunteering for this type of ministry, I didn't think I would have anything in common with these women in the strip clubs. And I learned quickly after I started to volunteer that I have a lot more in common with them than I thought. These women have a lot of the same goals and dreams and visions that I have, and that we have a lot of the same struggles too, just in life.
The first time I walked into a strip club with this team, it was actually the first time I ever walked into a strip club. And I was surprised by what God did in my heart the first time I looked into the eyes of the women that I was speaking with. And as I was handing her a gift bag, I saw her in just a whole new light, and seeing her receptiveness and seeing her eyes connect with mine, and almost a desperation that I saw in her eyes just broke my heart from that point forward. And I remember it was that moment that I knew I was in this full-heartedly.
Now I love going into these clubs and meeting these women and talking with them, and hopefully eventually establishing a relationship and friendship with them.
Well, a few weeks ago, 3 of us girls walked into a club, including Harmony, that we had trouble getting accepted into in the past. And so we were really surprised when they just let us come in and brought us back to the dressing rooms to meet with the girls. And it was just an easy in. And so that was a great thing at first. And so we were able to connect with the girls in the dressing rooms, and they were really receptive. And then the manager comes out and he asks us to step into his office, and we're like, okay, sure. Thankfully there were 3 of us. So the 3 of us walked in, and he wanted us to have a seat, and he said, I just have a question. What are you guys about? What is this? Like, what? I don't even get it. And that opened up an opportunity to share from the bottom of our hearts why we are truly here, to truly just let the women know that they are loved and valued and purposed. And a lot of women have a challenging history of sexual abuse and just all kinds of things that we want to be a resource for them to help them from all those things that have affected them from their past. And he looked at us and he said, no, I truly support everything that you do. And he said that he was a father, and he sees himself as a father figure, and he sees the things that these women go through all the time. And he wants them to get help, and he wants to see them receive healing. And as we were leaving, we said, well, I guess we'll see you next time. And he responded saying, actually, I won't be here after 3 weeks. And we said, oh, really? Why is that? And he said, well, God told me to leave the industry, and I have to follow in his footsteps. And we were kind of taken aback, and we were just like, wow. And that was when Harmony actually leaned over to him and said, the first man that ever prayed with me was my manager for my strip club. And it was then that, right after that I was done, and I was able to find a new life. And when she said that, he took a step back, and I've never seen a response like that before, and he almost didn't know what to say. But after that, he just shook our hands and said, thank you, ladies, and we left, and we were just so excited to know that God was going to use him, and that God was going to do a mighty work in his life and use him to impact people from that point forward, just like Harmony.
Another very powerful encounter that we had this weekend was with a girl that I met the first weekend we ever came to Vegas to do an outreach. And she was just getting into the business. And I was thinking, great, I'm just starting Treasures. She's just getting into the business. Maybe she can get out before she even really gets too deep into this. And for this girl in particular, every time I asked God, how can I minister to her? He said, just be quiet and listen. And for 7 years, we've been loving her, and we've been quiet and listening to her, and finding those moments when God says, you can tell her I love her. You can pray with her now. and just being so patient with the work that the Holy Spirit is doing in her. And this weekend, she showed up to a lunch that we have every year, and she said, I'm not going into the club tonight or at all this weekend because I just want to be with you guys. I just want to be around you. And she asked us if she could come on the outreach and just sit in her presence. And she came with us, and she just sat with us and just shared with us that she is very committed to leaving the industry this year, and that she wants to find a way out. And the next day, she said, I want all of you guys to come with me to church today. And she took us to church. And after that, she shared with us that she's been really wanting to be baptized, but she wanted to do it when she had friends present and when she had people who loved her present. And they weren't, we weren't able to have her baptized during the church service that day. So she asked if I would baptize her at the swimming pool at the hotel that we're staying at. And so we ended up having a baptism under a waterfall at the swimming pool, in a Las Vegas swimming pool. And she committed her life to Jesus. And I had the privilege of baptizing her and actually 2 other women as well. And I mean, it was just mind-blowing. And here again, we're not in a church, we're at a swimming pool at a Las Vegas resort, and having this moment with God. And he's everywhere. He's in the strip clubs, he's on the streets, he's in the hotels, he's in the swimming pools. He shows up and he meets us wherever we're at. And that's our message to these women, that he loves them exactly where they're at, and he'll meet them where they're at. And he wants to show them his love in such a radical way that they will never be the same after they experience it.
Pure passion that beats for Christ alone. Pure passion.
This outreach this weekend in Vegas, we were able to bring gifts into every single club that we went to. So we handed out over 1,000 gifts to the women in these clubs. And so we're definitely praising God for that. One instance at one of the clubs that we went into, a few of us came up to the door to the club, and the bouncer greeted us, and we told him that we had gifts for the women, and he said he had to get the manager. And so the manager came out, and he was a very large man and sort of intimidating, and he just instantly started drilling us with questions about who we are, why we're here, what's in the bags. And we took, just a few seconds to let him get that out and just to listen to him first. And then we tried to stay calm and just tell him that we told him who we were, why we're there, and what's in the bags, not there for the women. And he said, and then all of a sudden his demeanor just totally changed. And he was calm, and he didn't seem as anxious or nervous or on the defense. And he led us right into the club.
The moment that struck me the most, I remember walking into a strip club, and I was disturbed. It was actually a very disturbing time for me. And but I will never forget when I locked eyes with one of the girls who was on stage, and she didn't let go of my gaze. And I had just been actually disturbed by what she had been doing in her job. And it was hard for me to watch, but then when I saw her eyes, it was like it connected with her soul. Sorry about this. And I saw her destiny, and that God had a call on her life. And I prayed in that moment that God would reveal that to her. And after that meeting with the girls, we discussed the challenging moments that we experience and how what we can do is whenever those thoughts come back, we can just pray for them and pray for that girl. And I just will never forget her gaze and her eyes. And I believe with all my heart that God is going to deliver her. And I'll continue to pray for that.
Okay, so that went really great. We went in and we talked to the house mom, who asked us for prayer and asked us to pray for her daughter as well, because her daughter just went away to college, and she just seemed to have such a motherly heart for the girls. And she said that, I think we left a couple hundred gift bags, but she said there were 400 girls there tonight, so we're sending a team back in right now to leave the rest of the 400 gift bags so that all the girls can get one. And
we were able to hand out all of the gift bags to the dancers on the floor, and we went into the dressing room too, where the women get ready to dance, and we were able to give out more bags in there in the dressing room. And we were able to connect with some of the women. We weren't in there for all that long. They were sort of rushing us out a little bit. But what was great is that when we did exit the club, the bouncer grabbed us and he said, hey, I think what you women are doing is a great thing. Just from working here, I've noticed that a lot of these women are really, they have a lot of problems. They struggle with a lot of things, and they need help, and they have nobody to turn to. And so I think it's great what you're doing, and here's my card. So the next time you come, just call me, and I will get you into the club.
That was great. The girls were really receiving. They really received us, and it seemed like they had the same demeanor as the girls in the last club in Deja Vu, as they were really, they weren't like down or depressed. They seemed kind of like upbeat and like chatty. Like they wanted to chat with us and wanted to know about us. And again, a great reception from the manager or the bouncer guy. Walked us right in, held the door for us, walked us right to the first girl, walked us right to the back, and just left us with the girls. And it seemed like we could have stayed more or longer if we wanted to, but we let them know who we are and they can contact us. And that was it. But really a great, I would say, overall great reception.
They all actually opened the bags right away and were reading the cards and had smiles on their faces. The first girl that we encountered, we gave her the bag, and she asked who we were, and when we told her we were a women's support group, she opened it right away and looked at the card, and she was reading it when we left, and she just had a big smile on her face and said thanks, and so it was great to see.
We went to the dressing room, and the girls that were doing lap dances, the girl on the stage left her a bag, and she literally stops in the middle of her dance to smile at you and thank you. Another girl literally was in the middle of a lap dance, and she stops like over the guy and says thank you so much. And so it was really, really powerful. It was awesome after like seeing the resistance in the beginning.
We just ended up talking to the girl up front for a little while, just small talk, whatever, gave her a bag. And then eventually the manager came out. We got to meet him really quick, and he just said he would take the bags back for us. So that was pretty cool. We ended up talking to one of the bouncers, though, and he asked us if we were from a church group, and we said that we were a nonprofit support group for women, and we just had, gifts for the girls. And he thought that was really cool. He gave me a high five. He gave all of us high fives. And then he said, he made the comment that these girls need something like that, and they really need to go to church.
And whenever you go into the clubs, the girls are like, oh, this is for nothing. Why would you give us this gift? And it's just fascinating that, it's such a hustle, this industry, and they're always working for something, and they're always ready to please, and they're ready to make their next buck. And they're so surprised when they're given a free gift. Their eyes are huge, and it just always surprises me that they're so touched by such a small gift. And it reminds me, like in the Bible, when it talks about that your gift will make a way for you, because even in a Spanish-speaking club where we're not really getting to communicate, you can still connect with them, and I really feel the love and receive the gift. It's really great.
If you're watching this today, and if you're wondering, can God truly love me like that? Is there hope for me? I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that the answer is yes, that God is passionately in love with you, that he's pursuing you, that he wants a relationship with you, that he would rather have you just as you are, right where you're at in this moment in your life. I don't care if you're in a hotel room and you just did crack, you just turned a trick. I don't care what your circumstances are. God loves you right now in this moment, and he wants a relationship with you. And I'd hope and I encourage you to just open your heart to him, and your life will never be the same.
If you are looking for a way out of a lifestyle such as these girls are living, I want you to know that there is help. Harmony's ministry is called Treasures and is located in the LA area. There are also other ministries that God has placed around the country that do similar work that we can put you in touch with. If your situation is even worse and you are a sex slave and are being forced against your will to sell your body in one way or another, there are ministries for that as well. I'm the director of one in Nashville called the Home Foundation, and we try to place victims of sex trafficking into Christian-based rehabilitation homes where they can find the purpose and meaning of their life through Jesus Christ. But first, understand this, that Jesus Christ did not come to condemn this world. The world is already condemned because it has turned away from God. The reason Jesus came was to rescue and save those who are lost. He loves you, no matter what you've done. You are to Him a dear child, and He wants to restore you to the place that you were born to have, a place of honor and respect in His kingdom, a place where you are loved unconditionally. So turn your life over to Him today. It will be the best decision that you've ever made. Let us know if we can help you along the way. And tune in next week when we continue our look at women in the sex industry, and we'll feature the testimony of a young lady who was rescued from that way of living and who now lives to serve Jesus Christ. I'm Stacia Freeman for Pure Passion.